it is currently 4:23 p.m. just so that you can see that. It's 4:23 p.m. And I'm showing you the still images that I just captured right now of the light source and those who are group stalking in the specific environment where the light source is directly over me, and also the time that the light source is directly over me, and the time where I've documented the light source directly over me at the same time of year, and it's absolutely impossible that it would be at that location. And this location above is what I'm referencing. May 18, 2022 at 2:25 p.m. Again, it's 2:24 p.m. I'm showing impossible light activity. This is, again, because the light source is captured over. And I'm using the term light source because we can all reasonably agree the sun is not going to remain at one address all day long. So we're not entertaining the notion of this being the natural environment. But I will start with referencing the environment as though it's the natural environment, and then it's the inevitable conclusion that this is not the natural environment. It's not possible. The sun is not over the roof of the Upland Public Library at 450 North Euclid Avenue at 2:25 p.m., which you see that light source right over my head. And you're looking also at that light activity. That's a result. This is somebody that's walking in sunlight, and you can see the flat surface of the upright staircase on the floor. That's called engineered light. Sunlight doesn't create the upright object flat on the ground. This is the light activity that is on over the staircase for purposes of crossing path, the pattern of the windows all over the ground, while the light source is directly above that library. Okay, this is presence for the specific environment where group stalking is underway. That's why that environment, which is entirely unnatural. And why is it unnatural in Upland? Because I'm documented maintaining the light source over me at this same address as I showed you on video at 7:44 in the morning. I'm on Omnitrans. I'm going past the Upland Public Library. And the light source, that which is not possibly the sun, that is rising over me as I wake up in Ontario and as I get on public transportation and I travel the direction north on Route 83 at 7:44 in the morning. The light source is moving beyond to remain in relevant position to me through the window as I show you that. And that is, again, in contradiction to the maintenance of that light source as I wake up at the Ontario Museum, for example, on another day. And the light source is nowhere over the Upland Public Library as it would be while I'm traveling on public transportation early in the morning going toward the Upland Public Library. Then you're going to remember that timestamp. It's over the Upland Public Library as I'm at on public transportation passing that venue at 7:44 in the morning. I'm at that Upland Public Library at 9 o'clock in the morning, at 8:30 in the morning, at 10 o'clock when it opens, 10 o'clock in the morning, at 2 o'clock, 11, 12, 1, 2. That is it's a roof, okay? This is a maintenance of a light source well after 2 p.m. as well. I've documented it, maintaining presence. It's here at 2. That's the same roof where it's over me at 10 o'clock when I'm there. It's moving over the roof as I'm on public transportation at 7 o'clock in the morning. This is under no circumstances the natural environment. And this is just one day where I'm documenting the maintenance of that specific environment. And again, this is the engineered light as I walk outside of the Upland Public Library, and this is the light source in perfect alignment with me. And this is at 6:46 p.m. Let's just use May 18th again. This is same time of year analysis where the entity is maintaining a light source for the duration of the day. This is nowhere arriving or seen through over anywhere in LA. That's just an example. Okay, so like I said, right now the current time is 2:27 p.m. I just took pictures of what is not only impossible light activity by virtue of it being impossible as I captured the light source, not the sun, remaining over me at the Upland Public Library. And this is prolonged documentation that I've already established the specific environment as a matter of evidence, 7:44 in the morning. And I use the Upland Police Department group stalking, engaging in demonic conduct while engineered light moves across the curb while they are stalking in the path. That is the same pattern where you're looking at that light source that is supposedly setting while I'm at the same address, the Upland Public Library, at the end of the day. There's no provision for the sun to ever be over the Alvarado Gardens apartment property. You're also seeing that this is the property where the entity is heavily stalking in helicopters, like I just captured at the same time that I'm walking out of my apartment, and I'm showing you what is heavy duty stalking. Group stalking as I walk downstairs, the entity is amplifying helicopter activity, stalking in the path. Light source is right above the apartment. This is P.O.C. This is the sex offender monitoring via the third-party group stalker that I showed you, and the state actor access, monitoring via United States Postal Service, monitoring via Jose and Sons Landscaping. Okay, this is the same property where the entity is group stalking on an ongoing basis. I documented access, group stalking coming onto the grounds, creating audible activity via Jose and Sons landscaping, light activity as access is crossing path coming onto the ground using light activity, Silver Lake adult healthcare center coming onto the grounds and engaging in creating light activity while I am inside of my private space.
Okay, so
which
these
they are
two
all
are
monitoring
engaged
together. This is audible activity creation by Jose and Sons, group stalking outside of my bedroom window. This vehicle is already in position. I believe that is Rafael Lopez Banos instead of Carlos Mato King, who's a sex offender and a group stalker who also moves his vehicle because he's aware of the fact that I named him. Nonetheless, these are the elements of monitoring while I'm inside of my apartment, which is a sex offense that's underway. And they're engaged in real-time surveillance while I'm inside of that private space. And the entity is engaging while the light source is covered up. Now, this is captured at...
Okay, so these two are engaged in what is lying in wait, monitoring.
The pattern of conduct, and what you see is the entity unveiling its light source. And where is it unveiled? First of all, it's the property where the entity is stalking with helicopters, which is the hallmark of the pattern of conduct. The criminal system is underway. And that light source is revealed in real time. Literally, you see it covered up and you see my shadow. Seconds later, the engineered more concentrated. And let's look at the timestamp so you can see what I mean. 2:20 p.m., 2:20 p.m. and 29 seconds, I'm getting my shadow. 2:20 and 34 seconds, I'm showing you the engineered light that's now appearing inside of my door. And the light source is appearing more concentrated. My shadow is appearing more concentrated than it was. This is, again, akin to the impossible light that's on my ceiling inside of my bedroom. And as I begin capturing pictures of it, that light activity begins appearing and disappearing. It's impossible light activity. The entity is engaged. This is real-time demonic conduct. The environment is demonic. It's serving for what are demons that are surrounding me, engaging in surveillance, both group stalking and engaging in what are monitoring on my phone, federal stalking in violation of Title 18. And I'm showing you what is this engineered light that's appearing underneath a covered structure and coming in under a doorway. That's absolutely impossible light activity. It's also impossible because at the same time, the entity, again, it is 2:30 p.m. There's no sun that's going to be over Alvarado Gardens. There's no light activity that's going to appear underneath into my office, underneath a door, into a doorway. There's no sun that's going to be over my apartment building while the entity is stalking by helicopter, by the way, while the entity is keeping what's supposedly the sun at 2:25 p.m. And I guarantee the Upland Police Department, the state of California, are going to want to contend that this is sunlight and not engineered light, that they're engaging in what is crossing and path and activity creation in concert with the corrupt entity that stalks by helicopter while it is monitoring documentation and seeking to engage in that same psychotic terrorism, which is what I captured on May 19th in the morning.
There's criminal summoning. That's AMR, criminal summoning, and stalking by helicopter. There you go.
Flying right over my head and doing so. While the light source is covered up, the same stalking activity.
Flying right over. This is where the entity keeps a fake sun all day. That's criminal summoning by American Medical Response. All right, and while you're documenting the entity, as I'm speaking to the entity that's engaging in that P.O.C., the entity...
This is the entity that is engaging in that conduct with knowledge of the fact of what I'm documenting about the demonic environment where they're group stalking on an ongoing basis. And this is the entity that is stalking by helicopters. And so you will see the same exact pattern of conduct underway by the LAPD. This is in the specific environment. The people of the state are maintaining the specific environment, pacing on Alvarado, stalking, in other words, stalking in the path using their vehicles. It's an engineered environment. So I want to be clear, using your vehicle's hazard lights, that's what Access was doing. That's what Silver Lake Adult Daycare Health Center was doing. That's what Hector Aparicio of 1800 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 4 was doing. And doing so while they're also one vehicle after another driving in and out of the parking lot and up and down Alvarado Street. That's the same method of light activity repeatedly crossing path, demonic pacing, light activity, and relevant positioning while LAPD is monitoring. And also the entity is group stalking in the path while they are engaging in this demonic activity, which is state surveillance and federal stalking, covering up the light source, which is not the sun.
Path in concert with the entity that's in the workplace engaged in the same exact criminal system, not flying over my apartment anymore like you saw at 7:07. The entity's...
And let's remember what we saw this morning at 7:07.
This is the sex offense, ongoing stalking, amplification,
flying around my apartment.
Ongoing obsessive stalking by a corrupt law enforcement agency that's repeatedly over me and with
simultaneity to what they are aware
of that I'm documenting.
They were stalking by helicopter earlier than that. They were engaged in an unreasonable nuisance. Understand the amplified audible activity is inherently disruptive. This is the engineer light. This is how you know that they're all group stalking. Light source covered up or light source unveiled directly over my head, like you see today at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, where at no time in the day ever is the sun over Alvarado Gardens. This is the system of group stalking. Hold on, let me let you hear that again.
That's called amplification. Group stalking in a helicopter, just like.
And the entity is maintaining engineer light inside of my apartment at nightfall. This is engineer light that's on my ceiling in my living room. All right. This is impossible light activity. Light. I don't have any lights on in my apartment. I'm standing in the dark and I'm showing you engineer light that's appearing on my ceiling, which is the same pattern as I showed you earlier this morning that you see during the day, where impossible lights appearing on my ceiling in my bedroom. This has nothing to do with sunlight. This is called stalking the path with light. That's what Hector Aparicio, that's what Access, that's what Jose and Sons, that's what they're doing in the parking lot while I'm inside of my bedroom in Silver Lake, adult day healthcare engaging in, and while they are driving in and out of the parking lot using their vehicles as a method of stalking in the path with light. Engineered light in the private space is a method of stalking in the path with light while the entity uses helicopters, lives in relevant position, and engaging what is crossing path all around a relevant position, such as in traffic. Okay, this is the entity concealing the light source. The same elements of monitoring remain present. And all 9 board members are fully aware that this criminal system, the entity engages in a pattern of coming to engage in more threatening conduct. And you know that that is the case, and it's intentional because this is a specific environment, not the natural environment. Okay, it is currently amplification that you hear at 2:34 p.m. and that's why everybody that you see that I documented, Jose and Sons is going to federal prison. Maria Solis Alvarez is going to federal prison. Carla Lopez documented is going to federal prison. Nova Contractors, the 2 employees that you saw group stalking on the grounds again today, they're going to federal prison. All 59 units filled with third-party group stalkers that live at Alvarado Gardens are going to federal prison. All the minor children that live on the grounds with the people of the state are going to be removed from the custody of that entity. This is the light source that's directly over my head as I'm standing in front of my apartment building. And then it moves to be in front of me while I walk in front of my office. And at no time of the day, she's going to federal prison. Both of them are. She lives at the crime scene. She's working at the crime scene. That's malice by a demon-possessed population that's engaged in federal stalking. He's acting in concert with the LAPD. He's going to federal prison. They're in the specific environment. This is Tiffany Sherez, a demon stalking in the path with a method of light activity. And this is the LAPD that is engaged in ongoing group stalking, as I documented all day long since 5:05 in the morning. Okay, let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 times. And we are only at 2:36 p.m. Okay, and this is the pattern of conduct, and this is where state surveillance is underway. Covering up the light source, like the entity that's monitoring documentation engages in a pattern in. It's not the natural environment. The time frame for the light source at Upland Public Library is 7:44 in the morning, as a matter of evidence, to as late as 6:36 in the evening when I'm walking out of that same address. That's not the natural environment. The entity is engaged in the same pattern here in Los Angeles, where there is no sunrise that's going to be present at 7:19 in the morning, and it remains present as I document that sunset yesterday evening after 6:30 p.m., which is the specific environment. It's the pattern of conduct, not the natural environment. And the entity is maintaining this light source at all times. This is engineered light that's appearing on my blinds as though the sun is going to set in alignment to my bedroom window in Los Angeles at 1806 North Alvarado Street, and engineered light ricocheting off of the mirror, stretching across my carpet, reaching underneath my bed. This is the so-called sunset, all right? This is captured at what is 7:05 in the evening. You're looking at the light source that's over my head at 2:24 in the afternoon. That's 5 hours of maintaining presence. That in and of itself is capturing the pattern of conduct, by the way. So I want you to understand who is indeed going to federal prison, and her name is Maria Solis Alvarez. She's going to federal prison for the malice with which she's engaging in the state's criminal system, providing an intolerable level of facilitation. Again, this light source documented over my head at the specific environment, not over the Upland Public Library at the same time, and also not the natural environment, because 5 hours from now, the light source is still present, as though a sun is going to also set in alignment to my bedroom window. That's the pattern of conduct, okay? This is workplace terrorism and harassment. and sexual violence by an entity that is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. And the third-party vendors that I documented systematically present, such as Universal Waste Systems, Smart Janitorial on Wednesdays and Fridays, the United States Postal Service group stalking Monday through Friday. The entity that I'm documenting either by license plate, by video, they're systematically here. The people of the state that live here, the people of the state that are working for a third-party company, the malicious guise in which the same criminal activity is underway, they're going to federal prison. Okay, and the entity is engaged in federal stalking on the venue of the internet as well. It's currently 2:38 p.m. This is the entity that's group stalking still. This is P.O.C. while they're monitoring my documentation. Okay, they knew exactly when I was walking out of my apartment, and the entity is crossing path in a helicopter as I'm walking downstairs, which is audible activity, and it's terrorism while the entity is hostile because I documented access, because I documented Silver Lake at adult day health care, because I documented Hector Aparicio, because I documented Jose and Sons, and they're engaged in a sex offense while I'm in my apartment and monitoring in concert with that corrupt entity. LAPD is a demon-possessed workforce. This is demonic activity that's crossing path amplification, and they're also engaged in federal stalking on the venue of the internet in concert with the people of the state. Everybody here is going to federal prison, every single last one. And that corrupt entity that is the LAPD, they are going to be raided. They are no longer to be in existence. You're talking about disbanding. The grounds of disbanding remains the removal of the police chief. He's corrupt. He's also demon-possessed. That's why you have this demonic system underway, which is state terrorism. And not only is he removed from chief of police, he's going to be, and I'm referencing Dominic Choi, his criminal activity, which is being documented on an ongoing systematic basis. He and the corrupt department that he's in leadership of are engaged in state surveillance. They are the domestic enemy. They are a corrupt law enforcement agency. They are group stalking. Group stalking is only conducted by a demon-possessed person, and that's a whole police department that are engaged in demonic activity. And they are not coincidentally flying over me while I'm documenting that ongoing evidence that you just saw. Okay, that's the pattern of conduct. In the same way, they knew exactly what time I was walking out of my apartment, and they are greeting with the highest threat, stalking with a helicopter, which is the entity's pattern of conduct in the specific environment. Okay? It is currently, by the way, 2:40 p.m. It is grounds of federal prison for those affiliated with the Los Angeles Police Department as well, disbanding, mental examinations, permanent removal from law enforcement, and to be published as a terrorist in the U.S. for engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring, which is going to be recognized by the federal government. As I'm breaking down the state system, how a public entity that's engaged in public corruption is keeping American citizens under surveillance in violation of your constitutional human rights. And it's also going to be the grounds of immediate removal of the chief of police. And this is not the only police department and sheriff's department that's going to be subject to that. Again, it is currently 2:41 p.m. This is P.O.C.